People always talk about that one moment, the one that flips your whole world upside down. For Ethan Cole, that moment showed up on an ordinary Tuesday morning, wrapped inside a door he never should have opened. And what he saw inside, yeah, that was the kind of thing that makes a man forget how to breathe. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. We love you to subscribe our channel for more interesting single dad stories. He had marched across the executive floor, clutching a report that his manager dumped on him last minute. The hallway was quiet, the lights humming, and his brain was fried from balancing deadlines, bills, and being a one-man parenting squad for his 6-year-old daughter, Maddie. He wasn't supposed to be on this floor, ever. In fact, people like him usually avoided the 20th floor like it had lasers and guard dogs. But one wrong turn, one wrong door, and boom, life said plot twist. He pushed open the door marked Suite A, thinking it was a conference room. It wasn't. Inside stood Valerie Hart, the legendary CEO of Heartline Industries, cold, brilliant, terrifying with her jacket off, halfway through changing after some early event. She froze, he froze, heck, even time froze. Her steel blue eyes locked on him, sharp enough to slice through his soul. Ethan's heart dropped so fast it might have left dents in the floor. "Sir," she said, voice like ice cracking, "you are in the wrong place." Ethan slammed the door shut so fast the walls shook. His ears were ringing. His brain was screaming. His life was basically doing that cartoon thing where everything bursts into flames. He leaned against the hallway wall, face burning, palms slick, his heartbeat punching his ribs like, "Bro, what did you just do?" He expected security to drag him out. Expected HR to kick him into unemployment. Expected a lawsuit, a firing, maybe a public execution. Valerie Hart wasn't someone you embarrassed. She wasn't someone you accidentally walked in on. She wasn't someone you even looked at unless she granted permission. But he couldn't go back inside, couldn't explain, could barely stay upright. He walked to the stairwell on autopilot, somehow ended up outside the building an hour later, sitting in his beat-up Honda. How he got there? No clue. His brain had checked out. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He ignored it. It buzzed again. He groaned and answered. "Hello?" "Mr. Cole," a crisp female voice said, "Miss Hart requests your presence in her office at 2 p.m. today. Please confirm." Bro, he was so fired. Why yes," he stammered. "Good," click. 4 hours later, he walked into Valerie's massive corner office like a man heading to his own funeral. She stood behind her marble desk, suit pristine, expression unreadable. "Sit," she said. He sat. She studied him. He prayed silently. Then she said the last thing he expected to hear. "You submitted a restructuring proposal last month. Your manager dismissed it. I didn't." "Wait, what?" "I want you to lead a 6-month pilot project based on it," she said, sliding him a document. "I think you're capable, and no, this is not compensation for this morning. This is business." Ethan blinked. Hard, was this real? Was he hallucinating? Valerie folded her hands. "Do you want the position or not?" His world spun. I want it." "Good." Then for the first time since he met her, her expression softened, barely. "But next time, Mr. Cole, knock." Ethan had no idea that this promotion wasn't the beginning of success. It was the start of a storm he wasn't ready for. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and return to our channel for more life-changing, emotional, and heartwarming stories. Ethan arrived at Valerie Hart's office 3 days later for his first official project briefing. He had prepped all night, charts, flow diagrams, everything short of a NASA launch sequence. He was nervous enough to sprint out the window, but he kept it together. When he entered, Valerie was already seated at the smaller conference table, pen in hand, posture sharp enough to slice metal. "You're early," she said. Traffic was light, he lied. He had left his apartment an hour early because his anxiety threatened to commit crimes. Good, sit. The meeting was intense. Valerie dissected his proposal like a surgeon, precise, cold, unemotional, but not cruel. And that surprised him. She challenged ideas, not people. After 40 minutes, her phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. She finally snatched it, glanced at the screen, and her expression shifted just for a fraction of a second. Annoyance. Frustration, something human. Mother, she muttered before stepping away and answering sharply, I told you I'm in a meeting. No, I don't care about the luncheon. I have a company to run. She paced by the window, tension rolling off her like heat. When she finally returned, her walls snapped back up, professional, distant, unshakable. Where were we? She asked, but Ethan had seen it. A crack. A tiny slip in the ice Queen mask the whole company feared. Throughout the next weeks, their meetings grew familiar. Not friendly, Valerie didn't do friendly, but rhythmic, predictable, efficient. The kind of productive energy people wrote TED Talks about, but then she asked something unexpected. How old is your daughter? Ethan froze. 7, her name is Maddie. Does your schedule interfere with caring for her? I manage, he said, though it was a lie he lived in daily. Valerie nodded thoughtfully. Children require stability. It wasn't small talk. Valerie Hart didn't make small talk. It was something else, interest maybe, curiosity, humanity. Weeks passed. The project grew, pressure built. Ethan learned the CEO didn't tolerate laziness, excuses, or sloppy thinking. But she valued competence more than anything. And slowly, she began trusting him. One Thursday afternoon, after a particularly dense data session, Valerie closed her folder and said, Have you eaten? No. There's a place 2 blocks away. We'll continue this there. Was that an invite, or just CEO efficiency? He couldn't tell, but he followed her. The restaurant was high-end, quiet, the kind where water tasted expensive. They discussed the project at first. Then Valerie surprised him again. What does your daughter want to be when she grows up? He chuckled. Depends on the week. Astronaut, vet, mermaid. Valerie's lips twitched, a near smile. Ambition is good. They ate. They talked. They did not mention that humiliating first meeting. They didn't need to. Something was shifting. But Ethan didn't know yet. Someone else was watching. Someone who wanted Valerie's downfall and would use Ethan to get it. The disaster began on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind where the sky looks like it gave up trying. Ethan and Valerie were in her office reviewing updated metrics when his phone rang. He silenced it. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Answer it, Valerie said without looking up. He did. His stomach dropped. Mr. Cole, the school principal said, your daughter hasn't been picked up. We've been trying your emergency contact. Ethan shot up. I'll be there right now. His chest tightened. He grabbed his jacket, panic swallowing his thoughts. I'm so sorry, he stammered to Valerie. I'll send the numbers later. I forgot. I'll drive, she said abruptly. He blinked. What? My car is in the executive garage. It's faster. Move. He didn't argue, couldn't. They sped through the underground garage in her sleek black sedan. Valerie drove like she negotiated, controlled, fast, not wasting a second. You're not a bad father, she said quietly. You were working. It shouldn't have happened, he muttered. It happened once. That's called being human. That was shockingly comforting. When they arrived, Ethan bolted inside. Maddie sat in the office, red-eyed, clutching her backpack. Daddy, she ran into his arms. I'm so sorry, he whispered, heart breaking. I messed up. She nodded against his shoulder but didn't let go. When they walked outside, Valerie waited by the car. Maddie stared at her like she just spotted a celebrity. Daddy, who's that? That's Miss Hart. She helped me get here. Valerie crouched to Maddie's eye level. You must be Maddie. I've heard you like drawing. Maddie lit up instantly. Do you want to see my space unicorn? She fights aliens. Valerie, the Ice Queen, smiled, soft, real. I would love to. On the ride home, Maddie talked non-stop. Valerie actually listened. Inside Ethan's small apartment, Maddie insisted Valerie stay for dinner. Ethan tried to object. Valerie was his boss for crying out loud, but Maddie had already grabbed Valerie's hand. Daddy makes awesome spaghetti. Valerie raised a brow. Is that so? Dinner was warm, messy, chaotic, the opposite of Valerie's world. But she didn't recoil. She asked Maddie questions, helped her set the table, even laughed when Maddie told a joke that made no sense. After Maddie fell asleep, Ethan walked Valerie to the door. Thank you, he said. You thanked me already. I mean it, really. She paused, looked at him in a way that felt dangerous. The door you opened that day, she said softly. Perhaps it wasn't the wrong door. Then she left, leaving Ethan frozen in the doorway, heart pounding. But this new closeness wouldn't stay secret for long, and one man was already planning to use it against them. In the weeks after the school incident, something changed, subtly at first. Valerie stopped being merely Ethan's boss and became something else. Not warm, exactly, but real, present, human. She came to dinner twice more, always under the excuse of project updates, though Ethan wasn't fooled. Maddie adored her. Valerie let Maddie braid her hair once. The entire company would have fainted if they saw that. At work, nothing looked unusual. No one suspected anything. No one except Marcus Shaw, Senior VP of Operations, a man who smiled like a politician and watched like a hawk. One afternoon, Ethan stepped out of Valerie's office and Marcus appeared out of nowhere. Cole, right? Marcus asked, voice smooth as oil. You've been spending a lot of time up here. Ethan swallowed. The project requires direct collaboration. Oh, I'm sure it does. A slow smile, one that didn't reach his eyes, something cold slid into Ethan's stomach. The next week, Marcus attended one of their meetings, just sat there, watching, taking notes, waiting to pounce. When it ended, he shook Ethan's hand with that fake grin. Impressive work, he said, especially for someone who was doing paperwork 2 months ago. Ethan forced a polite smile. Thank you. After he left, Valerie's voice hardened. He's fishing. For what? Any reason to question my judgment, Ethan exhaled. Because he wants your job. He's wanted it for years. That night, Valerie didn't stay for dinner. She didn't even linger in the office. There was tension in her eyes, fear maybe, or anger. The following week, the board summoned her for an unscheduled review. When she returned, her hands were clenched. They asked about your promotion, she said. About us? Ethan paled. What did you say? That your results justify my decision, and that's all there is. But he saw the worry behind her voice. For the first time, Ethan realized Valerie wasn't untouchable. She was fighting battles he couldn't see, ones she had been fighting long before she walked into his life. The pressure mounted. Valerie grew more distant, more guarded in public. But when she came to dinner at Ethan's apartment, the walls came down again. One night on the porch, after Maddie went to sleep, Valerie spoke quietly. I've spent years building walls, she said. But you walked through one I didn't realize had a door. Ethan's breath caught. And now, he whispered, she looked at him, really looked. Now I'm tired of pretending. But Marcus wasn't done. And the storm he was brewing was about to hit harder than either of them expected. 3 weeks later, the board demanded a full presentation of Ethan's pilot system. Unscheduled, high stakes, very, very suspicious. Valerie appeared calm, but her jaw was tight. This is Marcus, she said. He's pushing the board to question me. And me, Ethan muttered. Valerie didn't deny it. You must nail this presentation. If you do, they'll have no ammunition left. Ethan worked like a man possessed. 18-hour days, spreadsheets, graphs, user feedback, everything. Valerie pushed him, sharpened the angles, tightened the strategy. She didn't come by for dinner anymore, didn't smile, didn't stay late to talk. They had to pretend none of it existed. Maddie noticed. "Daddy, did Miss Valerie stop liking us?" Ethan's heart cracked. "No, sweetheart, she's just busy." The night before the presentation, Ethan sat alone at his table, staring at the slides. They were perfect, and still he felt like he might throw up. The next morning at 10 a.m. sharp, the boardroom filled. CFO, investor relations, directors, Marcus, everyone. Valerie sat near the end of the table, expression unreadable. Ethan stood at the front, hands shaking, heart pounding. He began, and slowly, miraculously, the room shifted. He owned it. He walked them through the system, the numbers, the transformation. Every metric improved. Every projection exceeded. Every efficiency doubled. The board members leaned forward. They asked questions. He answered them like he had ice in his veins. Then Marcus attacked. What about resource allocation? What about scalability? What about timeline variability? Ethan answered everything flawlessly. By the time he finished, the CFO leaned back, impressed. "This is outstanding work, Mr. Cole. I recommend we expand this company-wide." Investor relations nodded. "Agreed." Marcus didn't nod, didn't speak, didn't smile. Valerie stood, voice crisp. "I believe this settles any concerns about my judgment." The board murmured approval. The session ended. People shook Ethan's hand, praised him, congratulated him, and for the first time in weeks, Valerie approached him. "You did it," she said. "We did it," he replied. She hesitated. "Ethan, I need to ask you something." He braced himself. "I want to protect what we have," she said quietly. "But I also need to protect your job and Maddie's stability." He nodded. "What do you want us to do?" "Wait 6 months. Keep this private until Marcus loses interest. Until the board forgets the noise." 6 months felt like forever, but he understood. "6 months," he said. "Then we build something real." Valerie exhaled, a soft, relieved sound. "Deal, but 6 months can change a lot." And when the truth finally surfaced, nothing would ever be the same again. 6 months passed both slowly and fast, like time wasn't sure what speed to choose. Valerie and Ethan kept things professional at work, distant even. No lingering glances, separate elevators, scheduled meetings only. But outside the office, Valerie was at Ethan's apartment every weekend. Maddie called her Miss V. Valerie pretended she didn't melt every time. Dinners turned into movie nights. Movie nights turned into late-night conversations. Conversations turned into something softer, unspoken, deeper. Valerie learned how to braid hair. Ethan learned she hated olives and secretly loved cheesy Christmas movies. Maddie learned that Valerie's hugs, rare but precious, felt like safety. For the first time in years, Ethan felt like he was building an actual family. Something real, something warm. Valerie changed, too. She laughed more, smiled more, stopped checking her phone at dinner, stopped running from anything that felt too close. But she was still Valerie Hart, sharp, brilliant, fierce, and that's what Ethan loved most. The project rolled out company-wide and skyrocketed. Every executive praised it. Even Marcus backed off, realizing he'd lost the war months ago. Finally, 6 months to the day, Valerie approached Ethan in her office. "It's time," she said, his chest tightened. "You're sure?" "Yes," she'd told the board earlier that morning. They didn't love it, but they respected her enough to accept it. And now she was done hiding. But the announcement was only the beginning, and what came after would redefine everything. Ethan expected backlash, whispers, rumors, corporate melodrama. What he didn't expect was how fast news traveled. By lunchtime, half the office had heard the CEO was dating someone. By the end of the day, people knew who. Mostly thanks to Tammy from finance, who could spread gossip faster than the Wi-Fi network. But instead of getting dragged, Ethan found the reactions surprisingly supportive. "Heard you're dating the Ice Queen," Daniel from accounting whispered. "Dude, that's baller," Ethan choked. "Please stop. Do you get free coffee now, executive snacks, private elevator? No, go away." But others congratulated him sincerely. Some envied him, some teased him. But not one person treated him like he'd cheated the system. Valerie, meanwhile, handled the entire situation with her usual steel spine. She didn't apologize, didn't justify, didn't waver. In a memo to the board, she wrote, "My personal life will not interfere with my leadership or decisions. Judge me by results, not rumors." That shut everyone up. At home, Maddie practically vibrated with excitement. "So Miss V is your girlfriend?" she shouted. Yeah," Ethan admitted, ears burning. Maddie squealed so loud the neighbors probably heard. "Does that mean S.A. Cheese moving in? Can S.A. Cheese tuck me in every night? Can she be my—" "Whoa, whoa, one step at a time," Ethan laughed. But when Valerie arrived later that evening, Maddie launched herself at her. "Miss V, Daddy said you're his girlfriend?" Valerie froze mid-step, slowly turned to Ethan. He gave her an apologetic shrug. To his surprise, she smiled, soft, proud, unafraid. "Well," she said, crouching down, "if that's okay with you, Maddie, I'd like that very much." Maddie hugged her so tightly Valerie actually stumbled. That night, after Maddie went to bed, Ethan and Valerie sat on the couch, quiet. "This is real," he whispered. "It is. You scared, terrified?" She looked at him. "But I want this, I want us." But wanting something and holding on to it aren't always the same, and life was about to test them in a way neither saw coming. With the relationship now open, Ethan thought things would get easier. And in some ways, they did. The board stopped digging. Marcus backed off. Valerie was more relaxed, more grounded. But new problems arrived, ones neither of them prepared for. Whispers followed Ethan around the office. "He only got promoted because he's dating her. He's sleeping his way to the top. He's just a charity case." Those comments didn't break him, but they cut deeper than he expected. Valerie noticed immediately. One afternoon, she closed her office door and stared him down. "Who said something?" "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." He shook his head. "Valerie, fighting rumor mills is pointless. People will talk." Let them. She didn't like it, but she accepted it. What made things worse was that Maddie overheard someone bad-mouthing Valerie during a grocery run. "Why were those people being mean to Miss V?" Ethan hugged her. "Some adults don't know how to behave. It's not your fault." Later that night, Valerie sat beside Maddie at the kitchen table, helping her color. "You know," Maddie said, "I think people are just jealous because you're smart and pretty." Valerie blinked, caught totally off guard. Then laughed softly. "Thank you, Maddie." That little moment changed everything. Valerie wasn't just dating Ethan, she was bonding with Maddie too, deeply, naturally, freely. And Ethan saw it, saw the fear behind Valerie's eyes whenever she let herself be vulnerable. Saw how much Maddie meant to her, saw how hard she was trying. For the first time, he wondered, was this more than a relationship? Could this be a future? That answer would arrive sooner than he expected, and it would come from the smallest voice in the house. It happened on a quiet Saturday morning. Ethan was cooking pancakes. Valerie was on the floor helping Maddie build a cardboard spaceship. Music played softly. Sunshine streamed in. A perfect morning. Then Maddie said it bluntly, innocently, like kids do. "Miss V, are you gonna stay with us forever?" Valerie froze, Ethan froze, time froze. Maddie kept coloring like nothing happened. "I mean," she continued, "I want you to be here forever. You make Daddy smile like real smile, not tired smile." Ethan's throat tightened. Valerie inhaled slowly, looked at Maddie, then at Ethan. "Forever is a very long time," she said gently. "I know," Maddie shrugged, "but I want it." The room went silent. Then Valerie said something Ethan never thought he'd hear. I want that too. After Maddie ran to get more markers, Valerie turned to Ethan. I meant that, she whispered. I want a home, I want this, you, her. Ethan felt his heart flip, spin, explode, something wild and warm all at once. You already have us, he whispered. Then maybe, she said, voice shaking, it's time we make it official. But Valerie had one more surprise, one Ethan didn't see coming. That evening, Valerie returned with a small suitcase. Ethan raised a brow. Going somewhere? Yes, she stepped inside. Here, he blinked. Here, if you'll have me. Before he could respond, Maddie sprinted into the room. Miss V is moving in? Valerie knelt. If that's okay with you. Maddie launched into her like a rocket. Yes, 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 yes. Ethan couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the woman who had walked into his life because of one stupid wrong door and somehow became the piece he didn't know was missing. That night the three of them sat on the porch as the sun set. Warm orange sky, quiet street. Maddie nestled between them. Valerie reached for Ethan's hand. He took it instantly. You know, she said softly, I used to think the only way to survive was to stay in control. Alone, untouchable. And now, he whispered, now I know I was just waiting for the right people to come along. Ethan kissed her forehead. We're not perfect, but we're yours. She squeezed his hand. And I'm yours, both of you. Maddie looked up. So that means we're a real family now? Valerie smiled, a real heartful smile that Ethan would never forget. Yes, she said, a real family. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world gold. Ethan exhaled, a long, full breath he felt in his soul. He had walked through one wrong door. And somehow, impossibly, it led him exactly where he was meant to be, but also the beginning of everything they would build together.